Okay, so I'm Kevin Milgram. You're the only person who wrote in the background I didn't get. Where are you from? Sorry. What's your name? College? Dartmouth Jones. And what college? Sarah College. Here. Okay. So I am Don Milgram with the Institute for Women in Trade, Technology, and Science. We are a national nonprofit. We are based in Alameda, California, the island, and just across the bay. And I'm going to be talking today about getting more women in your STEM classes by building a leadership team. And I actually have some really exciting news that I will tell you about a little further into the workshop. A big gift, potentially, for all or most of you. So let me just get a sense of how many of you have heard me speak before? I'm just curious. Anybody? Okay. Anybody come to these webinars that I've given? Okay. You're not? Yeah, so I recognize you. And how many of you get our newsletter? Okay. So several of you get our newsletter. Great. Okay. So what I want to tell you is actually I do a whole 2-day training. I also do training online. We have it in various versions, but it has the same elements, which is how to recruit women and girls into classes. And I'll show you, we've got some actual numbers. We know how to do it, and we can teach you how to do it, and then how to retain them as well. And here's the great news, and I'll show you some numbers to support this. Whatever we improve retention of female students, guess what? It also improves retention of male students as well. So it's a win-win. Isn't that great news? And so this is recruitment secret number 3. You don't have 1 and 2 because you haven't been through the full training, but we're focusing right now on leadership teams. And so what I can tell you is that if you really want to have change, you want to actually develop a leadership team in order to do this. And I'm going to tell you a little story in a minute related to this, but I have now led 4 national projects. I've been working with educators. Oh my, I've worked with educators in, at this point, over 40 states, 46 states. And what really works best is when you have a team of key stakeholders. And we're going to talk about who goes in the team and what kind of changes that you can make, as opposed to one individual instructor or administrator. And so I'm going to talk about some examples related to that, because then you can really create lasting institutional change. And my guess is everybody here wants to create lasting institutional change. Am I right? Okay. How many of you, I'm just curious, do any of you already have a woman in STEM or woman in technology team already in your school? Ah, you do. Okay. So tell us about that.
This is Fisher, and her team is women in non-traditional careers.
Okay.
And she's working with several other agencies on top of that to try to bring more women into new colleges' technology programs.
Okay.
Not a lot of success yet in terms of actually recruiting, but fairly decent success retention.
Okay. Okay. So it'll be interesting for you to see how what I talk about compares to what you're already doing. So our mission in the next, I think, 30 minutes, a little bit more than that, is how do we get female students, how to help recruiting female students by a women's STEM leadership team and create institutional change. We're going to identify who should be on your leadership team, and you're actually going to do an exercise related to that. And I'll be talking about what recruitment strategies have worked by a leadership team. So let me just say this. I see there are 2 models. One is the personal empowerment model, because some people just say to me, you know, Donna, I can't get a leadership team together. I'm not in the right position, I'm an adjunct, but I still want to do something. And so the good news is that our strategies also work with individuals but they have to do something that's going to be within the scope of one person, or maybe they can get the help of a couple of other people to make it work. And so that's part of what we recommend. If you use our team-based system, then you have the opportunity to work with other key stakeholders who can create lasting change and for ease. And so, what does that look like? Well, I'm going to actually tell you about a little story related to work that we did with City College of San Francisco. And hopefully this will be okay, because it's related to one of the organizers of the conference here, which is TR Theory. And so we were working, our organization, Institute for Women in Trade, Technology, and Science, had a Cal Women's Tech grant from the National Science Foundation to work with 8 community colleges in California. And CCSF, their CMIT program, was one of them. And so they agreed to sign on and be one of our sites. And you know, at the time, I said, okay, I have to create a team. And Pierre was like, oh, no, we can't go outside our department. You know, I wanted them to, you know, get like the head of counseling and the, you know, head of outreach and Republicans were like, oh, no, we can't do this. But ultimately, but of course I said, you have to do this. You know, you signed on for this model. And ultimately, I'm going to show you some numbers from CCSF since we're here. And they were very successful in not only increasing the percentage of females, but also improving retention of males and females. And when we had the opportunity to speak at an ATE conference about this, I wanted Pierre to specifically talk about their strategies, but he actually wanted to talk about the leadership team model and how successful it was. So what I've seen is, again, one person can make some change, but if you have, for example, if you have someone in counseling who is referring students, and you're having a pipeline of students versus having to do all of the recruitment in your own department, then that's going to work a lot better. And so, who should be on your team? So, first of all, you want to take a look at who the key stakeholders would be from your college. So, all of you are related to ICT, is that right? So you probably fall within engineering in your school, or computer science.
Computer science.
Okay, or maybe you have a CNIT. Okay. So you definitely need to have, if you're a school that has both a chair and then you have a dean, then you need to have both of those be on the team, right? That makes sense. And so that's going to be really key. I recommend that you have about 4 to 8 team members. And let's look at who else you're going to have. You're also going to want to have a key leader and a co-leader. And I'm going to actually show you what that looks like from a couple of different colleges, the job titles, etc., in a minute. So who are going to be the core members of your team? The dean or department chair of your targeted program. If you have a NSF grant and you have a technology center or project, then you're going to want that person to be a part of things as well. The TI is applicable. You're going to want to have at least 1 or 2 actual instructors from your program as well. And if you have math prerequisites in your area, then a math administrator. How many of you have math prerequisites for your program? Nobody. I think it's almost everybody here is from California, but it's not formal prerequisites. Would your students do?
Agency do.
You do?
For our certificates.
Okay.
So if you're doing your major, then yeah, there's your general ed, which includes math and English.
Do your students do a lot better if they are doing better at math overall?
In the program
Yeah.
versus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you probably want to have someone from math, because that's pretty key for ICT, is my experience. So that would be a consideration.
We usually send all ours to, I don't want to call it Gemini Math, but we have one of those classes. So because we're digital media, digital arts, so most of them don't want to do male or female. So we have our, I call them like Math 199, and it gives them what they need.
So it's going to maybe depend. If you're doing CNIT, then you're going to need more math than that. So I think it's probably going to depend if you include a math administrator. So other potential team members, how many do you have directors of outreach and recruitment or outreach and recruitment staff? Okay, so you're going to want to include them. How many of you have curriculum developers?
Each department in our school.
Each department. Okay, so ideally, you're going to want to have curriculum developers if possible. STEM coordinators, how many are STEM coordinators? That's becoming a more and more popular job title, but nobody here. What about learning center director of staff? You all have learning centers. Okay. Counselors and advisors, you all have. And how many of you have a workforce development director? One person. Research and planning officer, possibly. And potential other key stakeholders. And again, it's very dependent upon your school. And we have a handout that lists all of these on forming a leadership team. Let's take a look at City College, and I'm going to talk about who is on the team and how that helps with some of the strategies. So City College San Francisco started out with 19% female, and it went down to 15%. And then they had a big leap up to 33%, went back down, went back up, and you see it wasn't a complete straight line. But they overall increased females in the aggregate in their program. And then I'll look at the completion, and we'll go into the strategies. So the blue is the males, the pink is the females, and you can see that the baseline percentage for females was 64% retention. It went up to 82%, went back down, went up to 77, 74, 80. Overall, for both males and females, there's about a 20% improvement in retention. Males started at 72, 82, went back down, 82, 86. And so there was an aggregate increase for both males and females. And so let's take a look at who's on the leadership team and then what some of the strategies were. So the key leader was actually the CNIT department chair. The co-leader was a CNIT instructor. And we found, we've done a lot of different projects, and the co-leader is there. There's a lot of different changes in staff over a period of time, and then if you have a co-leader, then you're not starting from scratch. There were also 4 CNIT instructors, including adjuncts. How many of your departments have primarily adjuncts who are teaching?
100%.
100%. Okay, and that's pretty representative of most two-year colleges in technology areas. And so it becomes important to actually have adjuncts be a part of this team, because if they're not a part of this picture, then you're not going to have success. And so we were able to do that actually here at CCSF. We were actually able to get adjuncts to participate. Some of the meetings were held during monthly staff meetings. A couple of them we were able to get during other times by providing people lunch, and they were actually willing to provide their time. So also the chair of the Career and Placement Center was on the team. The Office of Mentoring and Service Learning coordinator, they were on the team. The PIO was on the team, and the researcher from Planning Grants was also on the team. And she helped with collection of data to see if we were actually increasing the number of females in both the enrollment and retention data. The Public Information Officer helped with marketing collateral, and for example, we developed role model posters, so single role models, but the Public Information Officer lent her photographer for the photographs that we needed from actual students from City College. Yes.
I'm going to assume that as much as possible, you want to have women in those positions?
No, actually, I'm glad you asked about that, but the answer is no. And the reason why is because you need to have the people that are the key stakeholders. Do we have primarily females as key stakeholders in technology departments in California or anywhere? No. I mean, you have to have the people based upon their position buy in. And so if you only have women, then you're probably not going to have the chair of the department, because how many female chairs do you have? Not too many. Of ICT departments. We have one here, and actually City Hall in San Francisco has one, but overall, you don't have very many. And also, one of the strategies, and this helps with having the chair of the department be a part of the team, was to actually increase the number of female instructors. And that occurred, it was a 5-year project, so that occurred in the course of the project. But in most departments, you don't have very many female staff. So I actually would think that there would be a problem if you had an all-female team, because you probably aren't going to have the right position. And what often happens, and I've seen this happen, when you have teams that are developed in these areas that don't have the right key stakeholders, it has interested parties who care about these issues, but they're not actually going to be able to make change, then they're not actually able to make change. And also, you don't want to put the female in the position of having to make the change on behalf of their gender only. This should be a team effort, including the males buying into this because they think it's important. Does that make sense?
Kind of, sort of.
And so, in fact, you know, I told you we worked, in this particular project, we worked with 8 different colleges. And I can't think, we didn't have any teams that were all female. And in fact, one of the schools that we worked with only had 1 female on staff. So the team was all male except for her. And well, that's not totally true, because we had some women that were from counseling, for example, but they only had all male instructors.
So I guess what I'm referring to, where it's possible in some of these positions, would it not be beneficial to have a woman?
It's actually more important to have the right people who can implement change, yes, or who can make things happen, is really what I want to say. And so that's the most important thing. And so my answer to you is that I would want to see a team that has women and men, and if it only has women, I start to get worried that it's a team that's not going to actually be able to make any change. And I've seen that happen very often. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so you can take a look at another school, and you can look at what you're really looking at are the job titles and positions of power, is really what it comes down to. That's really what's been key for making the changes. And so I started to tell you about some of the strategies, which I think are actually on the next slide. I'm going to have you look at those positions, and I'm going to talk about them. And so there were several key strategies that created those kind of numbers that you saw in City Hall in San Francisco just a moment ago. And one of them was that almost all of the instructors received training, including adjuncts, in the department. And I would say about 90% received training. In order to make that happen, we really needed to have the chair of the department and also have some instructors and have some buy-in to make that happen. And so that was really an advantage of having the team. The other thing was that on the retention side of things, for example, In the training, you make a plan. The first day on recruitment, the second day on retention. Now, everybody here knows if you're part of making a plan, you're much more likely to carry it out, right? So the instructors got the menu of strategies in terms of evidence-based practices on what is successful for retention. And then they decided what they were going to select. So an example of a strategy that really helps with retention is, you know how I talk about the math aspect of things? So they decided, well, a lot of our students are missing what I describe as building block skills. And so they come less prepared to the class. Disproportionately, this is true of females and also disproportionately students of color. So they said, you know, that sounds like a lot of our students, so we really need to focus on building block skills. And here's how we're going to do it. One of the ways they decided to do it was to find supplementary available content, for example, on YouTube, and push that out to their students. And they actually created via Google Docs, a spreadsheet, etc. Two of the instructors worked together and created a video on binary numbers. Often a difficult but fundamental concept for students to get in CNIT. And if you Google Abigail Bornstein, any of you know Abigail, who is an instructor here? So she actually, they posted this on YouTube, and again, the original purpose was for female students, but it also helped the male students. But guess what? If you go look at her videos, she has like, I don't know, maybe now, it's several years later, like thousands of comments from both male and female students saying, I couldn't get binary numbers until I saw your video. It's in 2 parts. Thank you so much. I understand she's actually gotten several marriage proposals as a result of this video as well. This is really the truth. And so you see that in order, so that was something that all the instructors decided to do together. 2 took the initiative to make the binary numbers video together and post it. Others came up with content that they all shared together and pushed out to their students. So it was really a team effort. They were part of this plan. We have the chair of the department, who's the head of the team. We have instructors who are part of the team. And so the general feeling is, yes, this is something that we're going to do. And then we had the researcher from Planning and Grants, who is providing us with the data in real time, besides what we send to the state, which takes you a year or so to get back. You don't know if it's really working. She's providing this information in real time so that I could meet with the team and with the instructors overall and show them, look, your retention numbers are increasing. And they were very happy about this. So you can see where having a team really makes a difference in this kind of situation. Now, another strategy, so that was a strategy on the retention side. Another strategy that was on the recruitment side that I want to tell you about that really made a difference was referrals from counselors. So City College, of course, is a big college with multiple campuses, and there's over 100 counselors, and they have a monthly meeting. So the chair of the department, who was the key leader, Carmen Lama at the time, and then Pierre Theory was the co-leader, went and made a presentation to the counseling department about the CNIT program and about their efforts to increase the number of females in CNIT, and told them about the kind of salaries they could make, the kind of jobs, the kind of preparation that they got through the program. And they provided them with marketing collateral that was developed in the course of the project. And this is actually one of 4 posters of 4 students who graduated different ethnic groups. And it has a quote, Valerie Stewart. What I would say is this: especially if you're married and have kids, don't stop, be persistent. Pequeños is just 1 class each semester, each year. It all adds up. Be persistent and stick with it. And you see her working with the equipment and looking happy and smiling. And so that was another thing, which is that the team put together a distribution list across all the campuses, and also in the community, these posters that the counselors also have them, and there was also accompanying brochures that the students got. And again, it was a team effort because we had counseling, we had outreach on the team, and they helped and continue to help with distribution every time there is a new cycle for enrollment. Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
Did you say you had 800 counselors?
No, there's 100 counselors at approximately 100 counselors at student college. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
And
but it's a very large school.
8,000 students. Wow.
Yeah, and so in fact, we had there was a presentation that was made to the whole entire counseling staff, and there was also representation on the team from counseling. And so obviously, if you can have counselors refer to students rather than you have to recruit them all one by one, and you have that kind of collaborative effort, that's going to make things a lot easier for you in the long run.
So what I was interested in is the buy-in enough to get to the student side. Because when we had problems with counselors,
yes, there was, and I showed you those numbers.
if you're cute, you can get professor has to give you all their PowerPoints and all their notes, and they can take all the time they want in class. They can do lots of things if you're a cute young girl. And that's what our counselors do. I'm just saying, it's amazing. So that's why I'm just asking. I realize it's a different level, but we just sort of have a little talk.
Yeah. So counselors are not the only source, because we know that counselors have like 100 caseload, like 100 students, right? But they were one source, and they do see students, and also the outreach staff. Another important source was specifically for recruitment. City College of San Francisco has a intro to computers requirement. How many of your schools have that requirement? One.
Everybody has it.
Everybody has it.
Everybody has the technology requirement.
Okay, so everybody has it. Well, the CIT department taught that course. How many of you teach that course? So that was a perfect place to look for potential students. And so in fact, one of the things that they did was send a targeted email to female students saying this is a great career for women, et cetera, and why don't you consider this? And then, of course, those students already had the prerequisites that were needed, right? Some of the building block skills. So that was something else that was done. And of course, in terms of getting approval to send that kind of email, et cetera, we had the right people that were on the team. So that was another important strategy on recruitment. There were three main strategies that were used, and one was having those posters throughout all the campuses, and there were also flyers with little tear-offs for program information. And I remember getting a tour of the campus, and all the tear-offs were, torn off. It was very exciting. So the marketing side was the brochures with the female role models and students like Valerie. So that was one big strategy. The second was, because this is a school with a lot of counselors, the presentation to the counselors, providing them with the marketing collateral and the brochures and getting their buy-in. And the third was recruiting the female students who were in the intro to computer courses and sending them a proactive email. Okay, so that's what City College of San Francisco did on the recruitment side. And on the retention side, the strategies included, as I told you, providing supplementary content. Part of the training was also how to teach the female learning style, which some of the instructors also incorporated. Also providing information about the tools that are being used. It's also one of those building block kind of skills. I don't actually have that slide here with me, but they made some posters of all the different tools that are used in computer networking that they made available to everybody through electronic means, plus they had the posters in the classroom. there are a number of different strategies on retention, but again, they had, instructors that were on the team. They were all willing to help push out this information and utilize it and push it out to the students. And so that's really a great advantage of having a team and having instructors on your team. So let me tell you about another college, San Diego Mesa, and this was GIS. And you can see they went from 39% females and went up to 52%, went down a bit, went up, went down a little bit. And there was, you're probably like, how come there were some changes? There were some changes in leadership, and so the attention to it changed at different times. So for example, one of the strategies that worked best for San Diego Mesa College was they had every year a GIS day. But then once we implemented the project, they decided to make a component of that Women in GIS. So it was the same event. They didn't have to spend additional dollars or do additional organization, but then they had a track for female students on Women in GIS, and that was a big tool for them for recruitment of females. They also had improvement of completion rates of both the male and the female students. You can see it even went up to 100% for several semesters and was in the 90% range. And so increases for female and male completion for San Diego Mesa. And they had a key leader who was the technology chair. The co-leader was the GIS instructor. They had 4 GIS instructors, a math instructor, the dean from the Learning Resources and Technology department, both of those deans, and they had a counselor, the PIO, and the Career Center coordinator. And the entire team received training on recruitment and retention. They also put posters around their campus with their students. Their PIO also helped facilitate the photographs of the students. Again, having the instructors across the board, they helped identify which students would make for good role models. And I mentioned the GIS day. They also had a word-of-mouth strategy where team instructors asked students to invite their female friends to both enroll and attend the GIS day. So it was they implemented a student-to-student recruitment strategy. Okay. Yeah.
There's more recent stuff they do.
And
since 2010.
I don't have, just 2010, do you know something about San Diego Mesa that I don't know, or you're just?
Well, I mean, I teach at San Diego State College, this is the thing district,
Yeah.
so I don't know anything about it, but I'm curious.
Well, this was the last time period in which we collected data in this project, so that's why I have the data through this time period. So I don't have more recent numbers, but what I can tell you is that we actually had increases in female enrollment in 7 out of the 8 colleges that we worked with across the state in our Color and Tech project, and we had increases in retention for 5 out of the 8 colleges we were working with for females, and for 7 out of the 8 with males. So we had this, and a lot of what we attribute it to is actually having a leadership team involved. And the other thing was there were multiple strategies. One of the things that I found is that people often ask me, Donna, what works to recruit to recruit more women? What works? And it's actually using multiple recruitment strategies, like you heard me talk about, over time, repeatedly. Sometimes people say, I put up one poster once, and we didn't have any more women as a result of that. We didn't recruit any more. And so, when you do a recruitment campaign, it's a marketing campaign, right? And nowadays, you really need to have multiple entry points, and you have to hit them with a message multiple times, and that's really what we did with this project. So multiple strategies repeatedly over time. The other thing to keep in mind is it normally takes about 1 to 1.5 years to see an increase in enrollment. The retention numbers, great news, is we were able to see those changes right away. For that, because the teachers could just go in and implement those changes right away. And so those can happen right away, but the enrollment takes about a year to a year and a half. So, multifaceted, multiple recruiting strategies, pipelines for identifying qualified women, high-touch recruiting strategies. Actually, one of the things that I do in our Women Tech training is I teach you how to have a personal encouragement conversation. So one of the most important things to know is that your potential female students you're going to find among your own college population. How many of you have a high percentage of students who have yet to declare a major? Quite a few. But they've already left your college, right? They're already affiliated with your college. That's your best market, your best target market, actually. And so we actually found, our external evaluators, that across the 8 colleges, they did a survey of the female students, and these were the top ways that they heard about their classes that they were in. These were women who were in STEM programs. The number one way, I think it was 45%, was from an instructor. Number 2 was through marketing collateral and like the posters. It was about 40%. And number 3 was from the counselors. So when we do our training, we actually have a personal encouragement conversation and script, and you develop your own script because, and that's what I mean by the high touch, we want you. That's what we found to actually across the colleges have the greatest impact. Recruiting is everyone's job, and then when you get to a certain percentage, then if you have a baseline number of women, 25%, at least 25%, more women will start to come because they see women there. So here's the great news. So any questions before I give you the great news? No questions?
I got them, I'm really proud.
Okay. So, through our current Women Tech Scale-Up project, where we bring these strategies further, we are actually partnering with MPICT, who is going to host this training for us. And we have one training that we can provide this year, and it's actually going to be June 19th and 20th. And it will be in Emeryville, San Francisco Bay Area. And there is an application deadline of April 4th, but it's free for community college ICT educators who are connected to MPICT. And that's California, Nevada, and Hawaii. And there are travel stipends available for ICT educators in California. And those who apply as a team from your school will get preference in the application process. And we recommend 4 to 8 members. There's only 30 spots available, so we want you to apply early. And this is an online application, and we have more detailed information. And you have this also among your written information, but it's iwis.org, MPICT-training is the web page. And you are the first to know. So if you apply right away, because we're doing this on a rolling admissions basis, then you will have the you will be ahead of everyone else, so to speak. And so in terms of the stipend, MPICT has generously decided to provide stipends to those of you who are in California. And if you are 70 miles, within 70 miles of San Francisco, you have $50 stipend. It's a $100 stipend and 2 paid hotel nights if you are between 71 and 250 miles. And it's a $250 stipend and 2 paid hotel nights if it's between 251 and 500 miles of San Francisco. So we have more information on our web page, and you will receive the in-depth training on how to recruit and retain, and in that workshop, you will also develop a plan. And following the workshop, you will also get the opportunity to get personalized individual feedback from me about your plan during group telecall. And I will select the top 3 plans among this group in June. And if you are among the top 3 selected, you'll write a letter to your dean or supervisor, if you are the dean, honoring your team's plan. So this is a great opportunity. And we have people come from around the country and pay to come from around the country and attend our training. But this one is funded and it's going to be specific to ICT in June.
We're really excited about doing this because we have been trying to get this into our faculty development for the last 3 years. But because it's 2 days instead of 4.5, and because Donna really requires this application process, it's been difficult for us to do it. So we decided, well, let's just do a standalone offering of this and get it done, because we really think it's something, like I said, we've been trying to offer this for the last 3 years since I've been here, and finally we were able to make it work.
So any questions, either about any of the things that I talked about or about the upcoming workshop? Yeah.
It sounds like you've done it with like 8 colleges in California and other schools.
And others around the country.
How do you deal with, you're putting together a team, and we're a fairly large school. I got 14,000 students. We've got 9 counselors. We got a dean who covers 6 areas now. My chair covers 6 areas. I have no full-time faculty left in our department. And it's across the board, like our, one of the people was over research and planning.
Yeah.
They're also the fiscal director now, too.
Yeah.
So we've never backfilled any of our positions at our campus. We were without a VP for 3 years.
Yeah.
So putting together these leadership teams, they're all key people. I can guarantee if I walked in there right now, they all go, oh, that's a great idea. I'm not doing it. I mean, I got way too much on my shoulders to start with.
Yeah.
So have you run into that with other schools, and how has that been?
Yeah, I mean, we did have one school. So here's what I want to say about that, which is that on this piece of paper here are your ideal team members, but what you have to also take into account is what's on their shoulders. And so that's one of the things that you'll have to take into account. And I can tell you, we actually do an online version of this training, and I'm happy to say that we had 40 spots and 120 people apply, and almost all of them are in teams. So I know some schools were able to do it, and again, we're only requiring 4 to 8 in this configuration. So I would figure out who from this group it could possibly work, who would also have some time and be most enthusiastic to help with that.
So you're champion.
If we could tell them, we know it's 2 days for the training, but if we could tell them then how much time is it going to take after this, kind of typically, to really implement this plan, then they know if they can fit it. A lot of times when you ask someone to be on the team and you don't tell them what the time requirements are, they're immediately going to say, no, I don't want to get on the team. But if you could give
for the purposes of what you're committing to in this, you're committing to the 2 days. You're committing to also attend a 1-hour telecall in which you present your plan and get feedback, and then revise your plan. And then we also have some follow-up calls that we'd like you to attend that are optional. So that's the amount of time for participation on our side. Well, that's not true because we also have to participate in some evaluation activities. However, there's going to be time involved in implementing your plan. But here's the big thing. Here's something that's really part of what I talk about when you design your plan. If you have a smaller team, or if you're one person, like I said, personal empowerment, then I don't want you to design something that you can't carry out. And I have, we have on our website a case study of one individual woman who made huge differences in recruitment and retention herself. But she used strategies that could work for one person. So that's a big part of what I talk about. I give you a real range of strategies, and I'll actually flag people in plant calls and say, is that really going to be realistic for you to do with, you know, who you have? You know, can we, and so remember, do you remember what I said were the, among the top 2 strategies for recruitment? Personal encouragement by instructors and by counselors. And so personal encouragement conversations don't take a super amount of time. Does that make sense? And you make a script within the workshop. So that's the way that I respond to that, which is you should develop something that is going to be in keeping with the resources of your school right now.
Yeah, has anybody tried to develop this across a couple campuses at least, where a leadership team might represent 2 or 3 campuses?
So some of the schools that I worked with were across multiple campuses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this could eventually, if designed right, become a regional program.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it depended on the size of the school that I was working with and the configuration of the school, but some of the schools were across multiple campuses. And, you know, I will tell you that it was a 5-year project. We had 8 colleges, and only 1 dropped out in the course of that project, which is pretty good. And that was a school that was very small, had a very small department, lost their chair, and they just couldn't keep it going. But if it was that intensive, we wouldn't like more schools drop out over the course of 8 years. Again, that's a big part of my philosophy, which is to do something which is going to be in keeping with your resources. Any other questions? I asked people to fill out the white interest form. I had intended for you to work on your leadership team, but I realized I did not leave enough time. But if you're interested in this training, can you just fill this out real quick for me? And then we will end the workshop.